Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of Freedom Friday here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm as always your host, the Ohio Patriot, and for today's episode, we are going to talk about Winter Storm FERN, and also how a piece of shit Mike Dewine, the current Ohio governor, is trying to protect his murderer buddies using Ohioans' tax dollars with bullshit legislation that shouldn't exist, is what it is. So, anyway, we're also going to talk about grocery prices as well, because I went to the store today. Which thankfully, when I went to the store today to pick up some stuff, which it was a Wally World, it wasn't like the insanity that I've been seeing in all these southern states the last couple of days, which I'm going to go ahead and screen share a thing here when I look up Winter Storm FERN at Walmart. And you got all these different Facebook posts and stuff like that of all these empty shelves and stuff like that. So, not quite like that. I mean, there was a couple barren places. Specifically, I know I've seen in the last couple of days, like, photos from various states where it was people going into these places, and it's just like the entire milk section is just empty, or there's maybe like 5 or 6 gallons left or something like that. The only thing I saw at my local was basically I think the whole milk is the one that's the first. Maybe it's the either whole milk or it would be like the skim, maybe is where it was at. I think it's whole though, because I'm trying to think how they set it up there. I think it's the whole milk is what it was. Like almost that entire section was wiped out. There's maybe like 3 or 4 gallons left on the one thing, and pretty much everything else is just bare in there, so it was. But then everything else for the other kinds of milk and stuff like that, which mind you, that was the great value kind. But like everything next to it that was like great value, like 2% or skim or whatever it was there, was still pretty full. Now, granted, that was at about 1 o'clock this afternoon. So, actually, not 1 o'clock. It's about maybe 2 o'clock this afternoon. So that'd be about 2 hours ago, give or take. So, I'm trying to remember exactly when we checked out here. Let me check my receipt right now. Yeah, so it was just after 2 when I checked out, so it would have been about 1:30 maybe, 1:45, someplace in there. So, which is not too bad. I assume it's gotten worse since then. I assume more people are coming out now is what it is to grab stuff before it starts getting dark, and that's what it is. So I could see there being like a crazy mad rush this evening, whether it be people getting off work, whether it be people getting home from school, and then the kids going out with them and stuff and getting a bunch of things, whatever the case be then. So, which I was surprised by. There was a lot of school closings today. There should have been. And really should have been all the schools in Ohio should have been closed just due to this below freezing real feels is what it is. And I was actually very pissed with the local school system here because they did not call off. So, where I'm currently living. And the reason I know that is because about half hour, 40 minutes ago, give or take, there was a school bus that was dropping off the kids now. And I was like, really, people? Like, why the fuck would you have school today? Like, and I looked at my phone, and the real feel was like 6 degrees below zero. So I'm just like, yeah, y'all are pieces of shit, dude, for real. Like, y'all should have called off schools. It's ridiculous to have these kids out in this kind of weather. There's no need for it. So, as it is right now, the real feel currently for weather, it is 7 degrees, and the real feel is -9. And it's just going to get colder because by 5 o'clock it'll be 5 degrees, and then 3 degrees, 2 degrees, a single degree by 8, and then 0 by 9. Going into tomorrow, 10 to midnight, it'll be -1. At 1 o'clock, it'll be -2, -3, -4 by 3 o'clock in the morning, -5 by 5 a.m., -6 by 6 a.m., and then goes back up to -4 around 7 a.m. And then all tomorrow afternoon it's supposed to be single digits, baby. So, yeah, definitely not good. Definitely not good at all. Yeah, we're not. Until 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We are just then going to break into 10 degrees. But everything before that's going to either be negative something or it's going to be like 4, 5, 6 degrees, whatever. So, completely insane, man. But yeah, my understanding now is it's supposed to be, at least here in Ohio, they're calling for at least half a foot, if not more, which I heard this morning it was more like 8 or 9 inches is what they're calling for now. My cousin even said when we were out, he said he heard there was calls for like 10 or 11 inches what it is then. So I wouldn't be surprised. I know in New York City, that commie piece of shit, man, Donnie, is basically telling people to shelter in place there because they're supposed to be expecting a foot in New York City is what it is there. Which, if you're expecting potentially a foot there is what it is, dude, like, good God, I would not want to be in Buffalo, New York or something like that right now because I guarantee they're going to be covered up about 6 or 7 feet, honestly. So, just crazy, crazy stuff, man, for sure. But anyway, so yeah, it's gonna be hell, man. So I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if you don't hear from me tomorrow for Slicey Boy Saturday, it's probably because I don't have power. Like if the power goes out, like I'm not doing the show. Obviously, I can't physically do the show. If I have power, I'll do the show, obviously. But yeah, that's my fear right now is like potential power outages in this state, in this area is what it is. Because I don't want to freeze to death is what it is, and I don't think anybody else does either, for that matter. That being said, I bought a bunch of stuff today that I can eat and just have out is what it is. Specifically, I got me some of the old French bread, which I remember there used to be $1. And I know that they've definitely increased the price now because the last time I went up there it was $1.52. Or sorry, it was $1.50 last time I went there. Now today it was $1.62 for these, which is ridiculous. With that price gouging, shrinkflation shit is getting out of here now. Got my bill here, obviously, what I paid today. So with the exception of a couple cans of, I got a couple of tall boys over there, which were not on the thing. With the exception of that, or I guess including that actually, my total was almost $182. Of that, what was considered to be food was $166.34. So, because they don't include hot food in the EBT system is what it does there. But yeah, I didn't get a whole lot of stuff for they charged me. Here's what it is. So yeah, craziness, dude. And then as it was, I was gonna get some more chicken patty things that I do in my air fryer, but then I was actually gonna get chicken tenders instead. And didn't have either one of them as a stock because that was one thing that pretty much was gone, was all that frozen shit like that. The only thing that I was able to find was like some chicken bite things, which are they're basically chicken tenders, but they're not quite as big as what it is. So basically, if you cut like a chicken tender in half and then cut that half in half, it's like big old chunks like that. I think it's what they would use to make like the popcorn chicken, or not popcorn chicken, but like, what do you call it now? Like the barbecue chicken chunks that they call like boneless chicken. I think that's pretty much what these are, is what it is. So, but they're not bad. They're pretty decent is what I've had them before. So, but yeah, it's just very annoying. That's what it is. I will say one thing though. I got a thing of donuts over there that were the sugar ones, and I gotta say, Walmart, maybe don't poison me with sugar, man, or anybody for that matter. That is how much sugar came off of 2 donuts today. That's at least like several spoonfuls in there. Like I would say at least a couple ounces anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if that baker's dozen had like at least a pound of fucking sugar on it, pretty much. And that was just like a scrape off. Like there was still like probably another ounce or so in each one of those damn things. So just ridiculousness, man. But anyway. Yeah, just all kinds of craziness though. So I'm kind of pissed that I couldn't get my chocolate donut sticks. Those are out because other people were stocking up on that stuff was what it was then. That was one thing I did notice too when I got the couple loaves of the French bread there. Was usually because they make it on Thursdays is what it is, and then it'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday is when it's good through. And I think it's sometime on Saturday night or Sunday morning is when they usually pull it, I believe. And then throw it on like a reduced rack or something. That's what it is. Or just toss it. I forget which they do now is what it is. But anyway, you would think there would have been like usually like stack upon stack. There's what it is. But it was legitimately down to the last row of stuff. Like when I was picking off there, it was like emptying out those shelves basically. So I could easily see that being a thing. That being said, again, going back to the FERN thing in their states is what it is. I did not see there were that well the one side of the bread aisle was definitely empty. So it would have just been like your regular like great value like white bread and stuff like that, and then like most of the Texas toast was gone too. But with the exception of that chunk, there was not a whole lot in the actual, well, I'm trying to think now. No, I guess there was several empty spots there. So like it wasn't like a full empty shelf and stuff like that, but there was like empty spots within the shelf is what it is then, where people were grabbing like rolls to make sandwiches and like, you know, just regular white bread to make sandwiches, or as they call it, like the French toast warning is what it is, which I saw yesterday, which I thought was kind of funny, which I'm going to talk about right now here in a sec as soon as I can find that again. Oh, wait, never mind. I can't find it because it's in a thing. No, I think I can find it actually. Let me just give me a minute here. Where did you go now? Should be here. Oh, that was another thing I wanted to talk about too. What's this other meme? Okay, that's not it. That's not it. There it is. Okay, found it. Yeah, so the French toast watch is what they called it here, which is people stocking up on supplies, bread, milk, and eggs. So the problem with that is though, if we do have power outages, your milk is going to spoil. You're not gonna be able to cook your eggs unless you have an actual like either generator or like some kind of propane like stovetop thing or whatever you can take outside and like do it that way. Because you're not gonna want to do that inside, obviously, because the ventilation for that would be non-existent. Then you'd be poisoning yourself with CO2 is what it is then. So yeah, it's kind of nonsense. Like I can see the bread. Like my sister and I were talking about this actually yesterday, and we were like, yeah, we can see getting bread and maybe like some peanut butter and some jam and stuff like that. What it is there. But the thing of that is, like, I'm pretty sure that would also freeze depending on the actual temperature of what it is there. So, you know, but yeah, it seems rather stupid, honestly, is what it is. And it's like you buy the most perishable shit when you should be getting like other stuff in it. Damn it, that's what I forgot to buy today. I knew there was something I was forgetting to get. I meant to grab like 4 or 5 cans of fruit, is what it was. Yeah, I'll get that later though. I really need to go to an Aldi's here pretty soon. Just stock up on like a pallet of fruit is what it is there, because I need to start eating pineapple on either a daily or every other day basis as it is right now. Son of a bitch, that's what I forgot to get. I knew there was something I was forgetting to get for fruit. Yeah, I forgot to grab my clementines. Fucking hell. Damn it, that pisses me off. That's fine though. I've had them, last time I got them, they ended up going rotten on me, and I had to toss like a whole bag of them, so it's probably for the best. I did get some bananas though, so that's should be able to hold me up for a few days anyway. But yeah, it's just craziness though is what it is, and I could easily see it being a situation where people just, you know, kind of end up going nuts and panic buying and stuff like that. So it's like a whole situation there is what it is. That being said, moving on to the other thing we want to talk about today that's not winter related, which is piece of shit Mike Dewine literally protecting his murderer buddies, acting in Vivek with this bullshit legislation, HB 308, which, as the title has said, expand state highway patrol jurisdiction, candidate security, and then as it's labeled here, expand the jurisdiction of state highway patrol, including providing security for lieutenant governor and for gubernatorial candidates to make an appropriation and declare an emergency. From my understanding is, though, it's not supposed to just be like gubernatorial candidates and stuff like that. It's also supposed to be for any candidate in any race potentially. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to steal 10 million bucks from the Ohio taxpayers so that we can pay for some fucking piece of shit candidate in fucking race instead of them taking the money out of their own goddamn pocket from their actual money that they've raised for the race to pay for their own damn security is what it is, which I want to point something out on that one. The reason I bring it up and I'm pissed about it is because you got that motherfucking Indian scammer piece of shit Vivek right now who is openly hiring security. From my understanding was it was a company called Arc Security that's not even licensed in the state of Ohio at all to be here. And then the secondary thing on that one was the guy that was supposed to be his head of security is some child trafficker piece of shit who was arrested on that stuff recently. And the guy was also a meth head too, for that matter. So it's like, yeah, why the fuck should we be providing you security? Why the fuck should we be pissing away not only taxpayer money, but police resources on your bitch ass for anything, motherfucker? Or any of these fucking candidates for that matter, especially some anti-gun fuckboy that wants to screw with our gun rights as what it is then. So, but anyway, let's see what the comments are here. Let's see here. Right, Nick Fuentes, latest in Ohio. Back in Casey Putsch, won't mess up primary. Send the groupers. Make sure Vivek doesn't. Wait, assuming he wins primary. Not outside. Well, see, and that's the problem. And then it's also, like, this is my biggest issue with Vivek entirely, is the guy is such a two-faced phony. He is 100% a Bilderberg puppet at this point. And I'm kind of believing that Trump and Vance are too, for that matter, because I know Vivek was at, Vance came back here to Ohio, I think it was to Toledo this week, to give some stupid ass speech about like how the administration is doing. And it's like, yeah, you're doing fucking horribly, dude. You should have been mass deporting motherfuckers out of this country by the millions at this point. And you barely scratch the surface on anything is what it is right now. You're obviously not having your AG Pam Bondi do her fucking job and actually prosecute people, because they're only arresting like 3 or 4 of these fucking people that stormed that church there in Minnesota the other day. And even then, who's to say if they're going to get prosecuted? Then you got a piece of shit Don Lemon not being prosecuted, which he should have been at this point, honestly, not only under the FACE Act, but also the KKK Act is what it is too, for that matter. And everything else for that matter. And this is the problem with our justice system entirely. And this is exactly why I think they're trying to do this right now with HB 308, because I think Dewine and company understand that there's going to be political violence this summer is what it is. And I would not be surprised in the least to see a lot, and I've said this before, I'll say it again right now, dude. I would not be surprised in the least if either somebody pulls a false flag on themselves that then starts real killings at that point, or if there actually is a real killing that is followed by a bunch of psyop false flags is what it is then. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I think that's exactly what you're going to have people like Vivek, people like Acton do to stop them from having debates before these primaries happen, and basically prove that they're a bunch of bitches that don't need to be in this race to begin with it is then, which neither of them should be in this race anyway, because they both are tied to COVID stuff, and them and Mike Dewine, all 3 of those people, should be in federal prison right now for crimes against humanity is what it is there. So, and then not only that, you got the fucking data centers and everything else like that. They're sucking out our power grid, and they're going to destroy our fucking power grid pretty soon is what it is then. Which, again, my sister and I were having a conversation about that during the one we were having the other day about the whole French toast warning thing is what it is. And she was like, yeah, I don't understand why these data centers aren't being forced to supply their own power grid and create their own power grid then. So they're trying to jack into the regular ones what it is then. So, which most of us don't want data centers anyway. They're just destroying fucking farmland that we could be using to create food and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit entirely. One thing I do want to point out, though, going back to SB 308 here in Ohio, is the people that are backing it, specifically Teresa Gavarone, is trying to run for, I believe it is, treasurer of the state right now, is what it is. It's either treasurer or auditor. It's whichever one LaRoche is not running for. So I think it's treasurer, but I could be wrong about that one. And then, of course, she was all, jerking off Vivek about, like, oh, thank you for the fucking endorsement here, buddy. And it's like, bitch, fuck you. So, but anyway, going back to Acton, Vivek, etc., Dewine, most people like that. I found this meme the other day I thought was kind of interesting, which was Mr. Sig visits a hospital and gives out free cigarettes to patients in 1948. That's pretty much what you might as well say with the jabs at this point, dude. Like, it's like, oh, the crime against community motherfuckers are doing all kinds of criminal shit. So, yeah, it's just very, very frustrating, very irritating in general. So, but yeah, it pisses me off beyond belief right now is what it is. What's going on in the state, the kind of fuckery going on across the board now is what it is. The amount of fraud going on here, nobody really doing anything about it or caring to do anything about it. And then you got all these leftists basically giving slaps on the wrist for literal felony shit. And it's just beyond disgusting is what it is. So, oh, that was another one I thought was interesting that I want to talk about today. So, for those that haven't seen it, we got the newest Jussie Smollett. In this case, it's a Somalian terrorist piece of shit woman. This fucking dumbass retarded cunt right here, who lied her ass off, falsely claimed that she was attacked by a bunch of ICE agents and basically called the N-word and everything else like that's what it was. And it's like, and I'm sure they said this is mega country right after that, didn't they, lady? I really need to get me a This Is Mega Country hat, but I can't find one on Amazon what it is. I actually found a cool Charlie Kirk hat the other day, though. That was kind of an American flag pattern, but it would cost extra to ship it as what it is, so I don't really want to pay the extra money to ship it as what it is then. So, no, that's the thing, we don't. And that's the problem right now. And that's the thing I think is crazy about Vivek even, because he was the one that brought it up like a year ago or so before he even tried to run for office, was he's like, yeah, we need to deal with these data centers because they're sucking up the power and we're going to have a power outage or whatever here in Ohio. And I'm like, then kick them the fuck out of the grid is what it is, dude. Like, seriously, like, it's not that hard, bro. Or force them to create their own grid is what it is then if they're going to do that shit. Which the problem with these AI data centers, my understanding is, not only are they terrible for the environment when it comes to taking up space that could be used for, actual food production, they also suck up a shitload of natural resources because the amount of water that they take in every year to power up their server systems and stuff like that and keep them from, overheating and everything like that is the equivalent to like basically a giant river that would flow into pretty much the ocean is what it is. There's what it is. So you're basically taking out a chunk of the ocean to even power up one of these. And so and the problem is it's all fresh water. So you're basically eating up like, again, human resources of fresh water to power these stupid ass fucking places. And it's like, fuck that, dude. Like, why would we even want these places to begin with what it is there? And it's like, most of us don't. But the problem is, again, it's these fucking scumbag ass giant corporations, giant criminal beings, etc. there that are trying to make themselves technocratically immortal with what it is there. And they're basically pushing for this crap, and they're paying off state governments, they're paying off federal government, etc., to push it forward. And it's a bunch of shit all the way around is what it is, man. So, But anyway, going back to HB 308 for a minute there, because I did obviously see the Casey thing. I didn't realize what he was talking about until I just scrolled down a little bit here. Casey Butch was saying 3 hours ago, he said, taxpayer funded security for Acton and Vivek, whereas my security, if they do this and don't provide it for me, when I'm on the ballot, this proves that they are 100% corrupt and evil. And that's very true, honestly. Because it should be anybody. And the thing is, my understanding with the bill itself is, it's not even, like, what's even more fucked up about that is the way that it was written. I don't even think they would give it to him unless he wins the primary is what it is there, because from how it was being explained the other day, at least the article I wrote on Cleveland.com about it is what it was. It was saying it would be for the people that win the primary and are the gubernatorial candidates at that point or whatever then, would be the ones for private security, et cetera, is what it is then. And it's like, that's a bunch of shit, dude, entirely. So, because to me, honestly, on that one, it's like, what they're basically saying is, we'll provide you security after you win a race, but you could be assassinated before the race even happens, what it is then. So it's like, what the fuck, man? It's just completely insane. It really fucking is. Just completely psychotic on every single level of what it is then. Yeah, let's watch this. Going back to Winter Storm FERN for a minute here. Let's watch this 11-second clip here from the Wally world. As Washington's ghost says, people are funny to me, buying up everything like they're going to be stuck inside for months. I mean, you never know, man. If you get trapped by like a foot or two of snow, like, you might be stuck inside for like a month or so till the shit melts. That is a lot of empty shelves, though. We'll say that, man. It does make me wonder which state that's in, too, by the way. If that's in one of the southern states or if it's like one of these northern states, because I noticed that some of the stuff I was seeing, it was mostly from the southern states that was happening in, but there was also like empty shelves like that someplace. I think it was like Lancaster, Pennsylvania area. So it does make you wonder, honestly, who's buying it up, who's doing what with it, what it is. So, and also, when I was talking to my sister this afternoon about it, I was like, yeah, it's kind of scary to think about, because you think about, logically speaking, how many of these people are unprepared for any kind of collapse, grid down, whatever the case be then, and how many of them are going to be dying just going there to get a bunch of stuff is what it is then. Because you can't tell me if you're, let's say 3 or 4 people with a cartload of shit, and then there's like 10 other people that want your cartload of shit, that's not going to come to violence, that's not going to come to people pulling guns, knives, etc., and either shooting or stabbing each other if it was that bad. So that's why I also think you're going to have, if we were like an actual grid down and stuff like that, you would have originally unintentional cannibalism is what it is, that then becomes just, baseline cannibalism is what it would be then, where the unintentional stuff would be, you got 100 people out in the woods trying to hunt down, 20 deer, wherever that, ran off as soon as they heard the footsteps approaching. And you got a bunch of idiots being like, oh, that's a deer. And it turns out it's just somebody that doesn't have the right, hunter clothing on is what it is then. And they just end up shooting, Brian in the back or whatever then. And then, somebody's like got like 10 people looking over this dude's dead body, whatever the case be, they're all starving. And they're just like, well, we could bring back some meat tonight. And then they just, quarter that dude out is what it is then. And throw that shit on a grill, throw that shit on a barbecue, whatever the case be, and everybody's like, oh, this is pretty good, man. What happened to Brian? Oh, Brian didn't make it. We buried him out in the woods. So, and I could easily see that being the case, like initially, and then eventually it becomes a situation where it is just them straight up like killing people to survive is what it is then. So, and the thing is, I don't think a lot of people understand like how close they would go to the brink or go to that brink until it actually comes to that point in their own lives, until they're in that situation. So that's why anybody that's like, oh, I'll never become a cannibal, whatever the case be, it's like, You don't know that until it becomes a thing, man. And I'm not saying you want to be one. I'm just saying, those guys that were caught in the Andes Mountains, that soccer team and stuff like that back in the day, I'm sure they didn't want to have to eat like the slimy chunks of flesh off their dead buddy's ass is what it is. But, that's what they did. So, because unfortunately they couldn't have a fire there, and they were literally just like cutting the chunks of meat off this dude, and unfortunately the chunks of meat just happened to be the ass cheeks that were the most edible at the time from the frozen bits. So, yeah, when you're just like cutting off a little slimy chunk of your buddy, it's like, nah, I think I just starved to death, honestly, at that point. So, because you're never coming back from that after the fact, especially if you admit to it is what it is after that time period then, when you are rescued. Anyway, I am getting really tired right now. I did not sleep well at all last night. And I think just the cold is setting in, plus I was eating a little bit of food earlier. And I pretty much said what I want to say today, which is fuck Dewine, fuck Vivek, fuck Acton, fuck all these scumbag pieces of shit that should be on trial right now for crimes against humanity in this country. And good luck to everybody on Winter Storm FERN right now is what it is, dude, because Winter Storm FERN is coming for you pretty much throughout the entire country, and that's what it is. So, and I was actually talking to a buddy about this yesterday, because he was talking about it being like chemtrail spraying that potentially caused this stuff to be the way it is now, or like HARP or something else for that matter. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, who's to say that this whole thing isn't actually being caused by all that chemical plume that came from East Palestine that was shot up into the atmosphere a few years back now, and then went up into Canada and basically dispersed, but then like started to come as like weather systems what it is then. I'm not saying that that would be like the continuous cause of it, because I don't think that would still be in the atmosphere at large as what it is now. I think it'd be more. I think it would honestly be more cloud seeding now is what it is. But I mean, I'm not going to say that there's not a potential for the contributing factor of that one, but I'm not an actual scientist. I'm not an actual geologist, et cetera, there, or any kind of whatever degree you would need to basically be some sky professor is what it is there. So, or weather pattern meteorologist type or whatever the case be is there. So, I don't know. Maybe it's some of the cause. Maybe it's not some of the cause. Who knows? But I'm just throwing my 2 cents out there on that one of what I think it could be related to, honestly, or the after effects of, I guess is what I'd say. Jesus Christ, my internet is going wonky as fuck right now for some reason. But yeah, anyway. So as long as I can do an episode tomorrow, though, we'll do some Slicing Boy Saturday episode tomorrow. Probably tomorrow morning, actually. What I'm thinking right now, like 10, 11, somewhere in there. Before noon, probably, as long as I'm awake by then. And then, other than that, it'll be, I don't think I'll do anything on Sunday at all. I'll probably do an update on Monday of just what we got hit with. Thankfully, my cousin and I were able to pick up some salt when we were out today, and he was able to help me salt the sidewalk and my porch slab and stuff like that. So it's at least taking down some of that ice that's there right now, and hopefully it'll be a nice. He said he was going to throw out a whole cup worth, so hopefully it'll be enough to deal with most of what's coming is what it is then. And there won't be no like black ice or whatever the case be. Because I think if I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to be a mix of like snow, freezing rain, and sleet that are coming with this storm. I'm not sure if that's all going to hit us or not. So, but if it does, which we're into measures already on the ground for that, so hopefully it'll be good deals what it is there. That's the one thing I don't like about this place is that you would think like if you're going to hire a mowing company or something for this apartment complex area here, that you would also either have a maintenance guy on staff that comes out and does like the shoveling of the sidewalks and the laying of the salt and everything like that. Don't put on the fucking residents, dude. But unfortunately, that's not the case, and it's all put on the residents. What it is then, so it's let's take money out of our own pockets to buy salt and lay out salt and buy a shovel and shovel our sidewalks is what it is then. So hopefully the next place I go to will take care of all that shit for me is what it is then. But who knows? Only time will tell. That being said, I think that's pretty much where I'm at for the day now. So I don't think I have anything else to discuss. If I do, I just can't remember what it was offhand, honestly. So, but yeah, I finally got a different curtain up there above my door now that I can pop in and off. So, and it does make it quite a bit darker in here, which means it actually would be blocking out the actual visibility from the street. That's what it is. So, anyway, the only thing now would be get something up above the that I can do the other way here. It'd be like some kind of roll thing out that I could just like do like a drop and like pull up or something like that then over my blinds here. It shouldn't really be an issue, but the only time it would be an issue would be if the old lady across the way in the next complex over, if she flips on her outside light then and forgets to turn it off, because that's what comes right through my friggin' blinds and my door frame is what it is now. So that's why I want the curtain above the door is what it is right now, which it's there now. But if she would turn it on at night or something like that, it would still go through the blinds what it is then. So I have to go back to the bedroom and probably mess my back up, which is not good because I finally got to the chiropractor today, thankfully, and she finally did her job for once is what it was. I'll tell you what, like there was one spot that she was finding, and I was like, oh yeah, it's like right here, and she's like, yep, that's where I'm feeling at, and she knocked that, and then like twisted and like knocked it again with the activator gun thing, and I'm not sure if that was where one of my dejuring discs is at that it hit into, and that's what's messing it up right there because it's like right where my kidneys lay on this side, so my left side. I'm not sure if that's what it was from, or if it was just like the way my spinal cord is just like twisting, because instead of it being like normal like that, it goes like this and like twists like crazy. So it could be something like that where it's just out of whack for, having an adjustment for like almost a month now is what it is. So, but if I could get one of those activator guns on the internet, I would totally get one of those, but unfortunately Amazon does not tend to seem to sell that one that I would want to get anymore, or at least they're out of stock anyway if they do sell it still. So what I would need, but yeah, unfortunately I can't get a chance to get that just yet, because I would definitely just take it. Well, first of all, if I had that gun, it's not that I wouldn't go to her still, like off and on, but it would be more to the fact that it would be me being able to do adjustments on other parts of my body myself. That's what it is that she doesn't do, like my kneecap area, my ankles, the balls of my feet, etc. So, which is what the dude who created the activator method used to do all the time when I was seeing him down in Columbus many, many, many years ago. So, and by many, 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 I mean like right after I had my black ice fall, so that would have been like 2010, 2011 time period. So you're talking about 15 to 16 years, give or take. As far as I'm aware, he retired some years back now is what it is. So, but anyway. So apparently Maryland is expecting 12 to 22 feet almost. Jesus, that is a lot of snow, man. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, these people that are like, oh, everybody's overblowing this and stuff, it's like, y'all clearly don't remember 1978 and the blizzard of 1978 is what it was, dude. I think it's 78, maybe 77, someplace in there. It was one of those 2 years where we had one here in Ohio that was like 7 feet of snow was dumped on us or whatever then, which thankfully that was before I was born. But my mom remembered that shit many, many years. She used to tell me about it when I was a kid and into my adult years too. And I'm old enough to remember we had one that wasn't quite that bad, but it was similar, and it was back in like 2007, I think, give or take. 2007, 2008, someplace in there. and it was a late storm actually here in Ohio, because we tend to have these weird ones where like you think it's like springtime in like April or May, and all of a sudden we'll have like one late snowstorm in like May is what it is usually, and that's what happened that year, and it just dumped like several feet on us. And I remember I was down at my brother's place. This is when I used to live in Reynoldsburg, and oh wait, was it Reynoldsburg? I think it was Reynoldsburg, maybe. Maybe I'm thinking of a different place actually down there. Yeah, I am thinking of a different place though. Yeah, I forget where it was at down there. Dublin, maybe. Yeah, I think it was Dublin, maybe. Somewhere in there, in that area. But yeah, he was living in an apartment complex over that area at the time, and we had gone over there um, to spend the night, and then eventually it was you had trying to remember now. I think maybe a couple of us were staying with my sister at the time or whatever. And then she ended up, my brother ended up having to come get us, is what it was, in his 4-wheel drive. Or no, that's what it was. My mom drove us, but then we got stuck in his apartment complex, is what it was then, in the parking lot. And then it was eventually, he ended up going out in his 4-wheel drive SUV to get my aunt and uncle from the local, I think it was Best Western or something they were staying at. And it was like the 7 of us or so, because it was his roommate, him, myself, my mom, my sister, and my aunt and uncle. And then I think the roommate's girlfriend was also there. So maybe 8 people at that point that were there. And yeah, it was yeah, I think there was 8 of us in there at the time. And my sister and I were like, oh yeah, let's go outside and play in the snow and stuff like that. And literally the way my brother's place was set up, it had like this long sidewalk out of it to the apartment parking lot. There's what it was. And on the sides of it, it was about maybe like that much of a dip or so, give or take, maybe a little bit more than that. Maybe it was more like about maybe that much. It was like basically if you took a foot off, like you were stepping down like at least a foot, give or take. And I was thinking like, because we went outside and we saw the snow, and I'm just like, oh, okay, it's like, a foot or so of snow maybe or so. Like I'm going to step off, it's going to be in my ankle. And I literally stepped off the sidewalk into what turned out to be a big snowdrift that went directly up into my nuts. So it was at least like a 3 to 4 foot snowdrift that had formed there. And then when I was looking around and trying to get out of it, like pretty much the entirety was like 4 foot of snow everywhere. So it basically dropped like 4 feet of snow is what it was then. Like all around that area. Maybe it was 3.5 feet, something like that. But yeah, it was a lot of fucking snow. So needless to say, like these people that are like, oh, these people are panic buying and they think it's gonna be like a month inside of a cabin or something like that. Like it could be, man, honestly. Depending on how these things go. But I'm not gonna say it's gonna be the day after tomorrow or something like that situation, but I mean you never know anymore, man. So but yeah, that being said, I am going to go ahead and call it a day, though, because I'm going to try to take a nap here in a little bit. Get some rest, hopefully, since there's thankfully nobody there in old B unit now, since that jackass was evicted almost a month ago now. And I know the landlord, I talked to him a couple weeks ago now, he said something about how he was going to have people out here fixing whatever that dude basically busted in the place. I've only heard him out here one time. The way he was talking, it was going to be like 3 or 4 times, honestly. So I don't know if he's having me able to get back out here and do the rest of this stuff or not. So I don't know if I'll get a new neighbor come February 1st or if it'll be sometime during February or it'll be into March if that'd be the case even. So who knows? But the longer there's nobody in there, the better, in my opinion, because it's just so much better now is what it is. So much more quiet, honestly. So, Like the only exception would be if there was like a hot chick that moved in, honestly. That would then be my future wife potentially. So, but yeah, with the exception of that one, like, which is pipe dream, obviously, in a fantasy of mine. But I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think it'll probably just be some young kid or something. So, or some punk ass or something like that. That's what it is, like the last douchebag. But I will make sure to put my foot down immediately and set the rules straight is what it is then with them and be like, hey, here's the deal. I get that there's like, this quiet hours at this point in time and the thing, but here's the deal. Like every, whenever I have streams I do with people that start at least that late. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and I think we're gonna take this one out with the old 1978 snowstorm here that happened in Ohio, and we will show the good old video and stuff of that one. So if I can do the thing up here for it. Yeah, this is from a local news affiliate here a couple years ago that did this. When it was the 78 snowstorm look back. Why is this on closed caption? I don't need to see that. Yeah, you got cars just buried in the snow. You can obviously flip it around a little bit here and there. People doing snowmobiling. Bunch of crazy stuff, just all kinds of. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying right there. Like that's what I don't want right here is like that 6-7 foot ice wall. That's what it is there of snow. So yeah, that would be no bueno is what it is. So, but thankfully I think we have enough stuff now is what it is that won't be a problem. Because I'm like back in the late 70s. They didn't have the technology we have now. They didn't have the de-icer stuff we have now. They didn't have the various mixtures that we can create now is what it is to, get the snow to basically break apart is what it is then. You didn't have the amount of trucks out that we have now is what it is to do that stuff. You didn't have the crazy salt mines like we have now is what it is. We can just fill up these trucks day after day after day is what it is, and then just do a bunch of salt dropping and stuff. And like salt mixtures and like spray mixtures and a lot of that stuff too, for that matter, was also like pre-treatments that we do now that they didn't do back then. So yeah, I don't think it's ever going to be as bad as it was back then. At least I hope not anyway, unless we would lose a lot of technology as what it is there. But I think people on ODOT and stuff like that, and most of these various Department of Transportation roles nowadays are probably better off as what it is than they were back then. So now, granted, that being said, that is all for us is what it is here in these states that actually are used to winter weather. Now, granted, if you're in like, Texas or Louisiana or something like that, you're not used to these crazy degree temps and stuff like that, you're probably going to die. I'm just going to say that right now, dude. Like, you're probably fucked. Because I was watching this one Facebook reel yesterday. This guy, I forget what state he was in. It was maybe like Alabama or something like that. That's not used to this stuff. And he was talking about how their water heaters are in their attics. And that pretty much when the winter weather comes, because they got no insulation in these places, it's going to basically bust their water heater and flood their entire house is what it is then. And probably freeze it too for that matter. So it's like, yeah, like good luck to you on that one, bro. Like I'd be figuring out a way to insulate that bitch real quick is what it is then. And then that same aspect of things, I'd be going out there and any kind of tree limbs you got hanging by power lines, I'd be taking those tree limbs out is what it is then as quick as possible to prevent power outages that way is what it is. So that's one thing I noticed here recently, probably about 3 weeks ago or so, give or take, maybe a month ago now, is the tree that was like 2 units down in the complex is what it is that was kind of overhanging towards the power lines there. I noticed it was I don't know, it was AEP Ohio, or it was just like the local city cutting crew that was coming out here, and they were slicing that down to make sure it didn't get knocked into the power lines during any of these storms that it is then. So I think mostly in this area, I think I'm pretty good off. Like, I don't think there's going to be power outages here is what it is from any like tree limbs falling and stuff like that. Now, granted, if you had like those 60, 70 mile an hour winds that would just pick shit up and like toss it into things, like I could easily see like a barbecue grill being like picked up and just like flinging towards whatever then is what it is, and like smacking into some power lines or something like that, or maybe like a mailbox like getting uprooted or something like that and going and flying into some power lines or something like that then. But yeah, with the exception of that, I don't think anything is going to be like trees down and stuff like that. Well, I guess in that aspect of things, unless it'll be like a tree getting hit by straight line winds and coming, the whole fucking tree coming down or whatever the case, we might take out the power lines then. But like, I don't think it's going to be some random limb off a tree or whatever the case be then. So I think I'm pretty safe on that one. But you never know. You never know. So that being said, obviously, if worse does come to worse and I have to go into hibernation mode, I'm just going to finish off the pack, man. Be done with it. I think there's about 6 or 7 left in this one right now. So I did notice something with this one, actually. I want to talk about that real quick, which is my experiences with the Space Gods Delta 9 gummies. Is these ones that I have them here right now actually expired on October 19th of 2025. And I can tell you that specifically that the potency on these is weird now is what it is, because the last 2 times I've taken them, it took at least 2 hours to kick in when it's supposed to be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. And when it finally did kick in, it was like a way, way higher high than I'm used to. Like, it was one of those ones where it literally felt like my like body was like floating out of the chair essentially. So yeah, you gotta watch when those expire, because sometimes they can have like weird effects like that's what it is then. Which I assume the expiration would be that it's either the potency is dropping or it's becoming more potent or something. If that be the case, then who knows? But all I gotta say is the last 2 times I've taken them, it's been some really, really like floaty highs basically that I'm not used to. So anyway. But yeah, other than that though, I mean, they do work, and obviously when I do take them, it's for medical reasons. So when my back is so messed up I can't even walk, so it's to be able to actually get up and, you know, walk and get like a glass of water or something like that is what it is, and go to the bathroom. So anyway, on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day because it is 5 o'clock right now. I got some stuff I gotta do, so I'm going to go do that real quick, and then most likely I will be watching something, movie or something like that, if that be the case. I don't know. Maybe just watching storm coverage or something like that, just to see how they're predicting things right now. Like I said, it's about -10 right now, I think is what it is outside, give or take. So thankfully all my outside stuff, except for the windows, are protected right now. So I will definitely have a good time being able to do that stuff as what it is then, and getting everything pretty much what it needs to be. If worse comes to worse and I got to sleep in the chair again, and I don't think I'm going to be able to have enough things. I specifically did not make my bed with the bedding this time around. And all that's in my dryer about 10 feet away from me right now. So if worse comes to worse, I'll literally go over there and just grab like some thermal throws is what it is then, and just throw that shit around me is what it is. And that way I'll just hibernate inside of that is what it is for the next day or so. If the power were to go out or whatever. So I don't think I would die anyway. But that being said, it's not going to be a fun time if there was a power outage. So, but yeah, plan right now is probably somewhere between 10 a.m. and noon, give or take, tomorrow. I will most likely do a new Slicey Boar Saturday episode. We'll talk about something I got in today. Well, not today. I actually got it in my. This was left in my mailbox yesterday. You can see how beat up that package is from them like shoving it in there the way that they did, like a bunch of fucking idiots. So, which it might have just been shipped like that too, though, for all I know. But yeah, this will be one of the new blades that we talk about, and then I'll probably pull up some other stuff that I've had for a while now and just do some discussions of things. So anyway, other than that, that's what I'm at for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. Always be carrying. Always be situationally aware. Always be ready in case the worst does happen and people have riot mentality, because you never know when people panic buying just turns into a crazy stampede or something like that, and you got to get the fuck out of what it is. So always watch the people, always watch yourself, always watch your six, etc., etc. So, but yeah, other than that, that's from that, and I will see you guys later. Peace out. Bye.